Welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. I am Joey Calvo. Our podcast is heard on the World Podcast Network with over 1,200 podcasts in over 12 genres. Help us rise to the leaderboard by going to https://worldpodcast.network. Like I said, vote for us in the leader and help us rise to the leaderboard. If you have a podcast of your own, you can join for free. Today, our guest is Inam Inamullah. He was born into hardship, found solace in art, and turning his pain into beauty. Despite numerous obstacles, he became a celebrated, well-renowned artist through resilience and creativity. He has a new book out. It's called, give me one moment.
Whispers of the Flight.
Whispers of the Flight. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So, Inam, first of all, welcome to the podcast.
It's my pleasure to be on your podcast.
Okay.
Thanks for having me, Joey.
Okay. So, tell us who Inam is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, my name is Inam Inamullah. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm 63 years old, and I'm a professional artist. I'm known all over the world for my landscape paintings. In addition to that, I'm a poet, I'm a playwright, and I recently published a book also. The release date was exactly a month from today, 16th of August. And it's called Whispers of the Flight. And I'm delighted to be on your podcast.
All right. Thank you so much. We're happy to have you on as well. So my first question, right off the bat, you discuss Rumi and Sufism.
Correct.
What are they?
Sure. The Sufism is a form of mystical practices, which originality stems from the Islamic school of thought or religion. However, it does not restrict itself into one religion. It's open for everyone. And it's very similar to yoga, which was originated from Hinduism and then Buddhism, but now it's all over the world, regardless of what religion do you follow or what beliefs do you have. It's a form of meditation, and it's similar to that it's open for everyone, and it has different kinds of practices built into it. Different kinds of meditation, different kinds of forms and methodologies to connect to your whatever you believe the divine is. Basically, it's a methodology to be able to connect to that power, that superpower, basically. Rumi is the most famous follower of that school of thought, and he became, if I'm not mistaken, the most read writer and poet in the Western world in the last 20-30 years, since Mr. Coleman Barks introduced his translations into English. So he also practiced throughout his life. He had a little a variation of Sufism that he taught, and all the big teachers have come up with their own different methods of teaching the same philosophy. The person that I was very much impressed with, who wrote the original poem called The Conference of the Birds, which was also translated into 80 different languages, that became the basis of me writing the book, was one of the teachers of Rumi, actually, from whom Rumi learned as a child how to write the form of the genre of poetry called musaddas in Persian language, basically. So they follow. So Rumi basically followed the same style as Mr. Attar did. Maybe he was 50 years senior than him, but he learned from him as a child. So that's a little bit and these guys. This poem was about 900 years old, about the same time frame when Rumi was around too. And then after Rumi, Saadi, and all those people followed. utilizing the same kind of methodology, same kind of writing the poetry, but expressing their own thoughts in their explanation of the same Sufi practices, basically.
Okay. I'm actually going to jump one question. We're going to get to that question in a moment.
Mhm.
All right. So my other question in the book, you or not in the, but you mentioned Farid al-Din Attar. Who
Correct.
is? Tell us about him.
Sure. That's so. My inspiration, just to give you a little bit of the history. Okay, my history, how I got introduced to him, and who that person is. I had a knee replacement surgery done 2 years ago, and that some difficulties came about after the surgery, that I developed something called DVT, which is basically the blood clots in your blood vessels. And I was restricted to not move a whole lot for 2 months, and I was on, powerful blood thinners to reduce those clots down. So while I was in all that pain, my son gifted me a book, a very pretty book, illustrations, and very well written in English language, which was called The Conference of the Birds. And the original name of the poem in Arabic language was Mantakul Tayr. And it was the book written by this Sufi poet called Fariduddin Attar, who lived in a city called Nishapur, which is northern Afghanistan and northern Iran, basically. And all these guys came from the same region. Even Rumi came from the same region. Sadi came from the same region. But he was more senior to these guys, Fariduddin Attar, and he ended up he has we know of at least 27 books that he has written, and Conference of the Bird was one of them. And it's a story of the birds, basically, that all the birds of the world get together, and they say that all the kingdoms, all the people have their own kings, and the birds don't have a king. And the hoopoe bird, which is like a messenger bird in the Abrahamic religion, um, comes forward and says, "No, we have a king too, and I can take you there, but we'll have to go through 7 difficult valleys. And if you are willing to take those challenges, then I can take you there." And he takes them from one valley to another, and some birds decided to go back, and some birds decided to proceed with him. And at the end of all those things, and of course these are metaphorical valleys, and what he has done is that he takes these birds through inner cleansing process, which is the Sufi method, is to basically leave your ego aside, leave your judgments aside, and just stay connected to the divine in the purest form. And so he walks them through the valley of love, the valley of um, uh, bewilderment, valley of annihilation, and all those different metaphorical valleys, and reach the destination. So when I was exposed to that poem, I was so impressed with the theories and the methodology that I tried to learn more. And I was lucky to find a professor of Persian language who had a PhD in old Persian poetry. And I learned with her for 6 months, twice a week, this poem. And when I was done learning, I said, "What should I do with all this knowledge? If I try to share that with my children who were born and raised here in the Western world, or a common person, it'll be very difficult to share that kind of philosophy, that kind of knowledge, and all that." So I decided to basically use Attar's theories, his parables. His style of explaining was using parables, basically, and ended up writing a novel so that an average English reader can read it, understand it, enjoy it, and follow the theories written in it. At the same time, enjoy the story in the novel.
Okay. All right. So, for the book, what inspired you to write the book, and how did you draw upon his work?
So the parables, the stories, the way he expressed how to face different challenges in life, as we all face, was amazing. I mean, it is something new to me. It was something uh, totally, I was flabbergasted. I was just blown away with the way he had explained, and that's the reason why this poem became so famous and got translated into 80 different languages. And it has 4,600 verses, so it's an extremely long poem. And so after I got to understand the theories behind it, that was my biggest inspiration. As to my challenge was, because when you translate something from one language to another, you never capture the true essence of what the original writing is. It's extremely difficult. So I tried my best to bring it down in such a way that it becomes readable for an average English language reader. That was my challenge, basically. And how successful I am in that is the only way we can find out is by people reading the book and leaving their remarks on Amazon and other locations.
Okay. Your book touches on themes like self-discovery and overcoming obstacles. Can you share a personal experience that deeply influenced these themes in your writing?
Sure. Well, you see, I'm a polio patient. Okay, and I was born in South Asia, and in 1961, and I got infected before I was 1 year old. And when I became the age of, when the kids start walking like two or something, I my right foot was turned at an angle of 45 degrees, and my right knee was turned 15 degrees. And when I turned 5 years old, um, I was admitted to school, like because mentally speaking, I was all fine, right? So the kids can be cruel when you are the only one in the school who has a leg like that, who has a foot like that. So I used to get bullied a lot. I used to get a lot of challenges right from the age of 5 to face on a daily basis, 5 days a week. And so that was my learning process, or initial learning ground, is to how to face these challenges and these diversities, basically, and how to overcome when people apply pressure on you. And that was my own personal experience. But something miraculous happened to me, that one day I was sitting and just watching other boys outside playing, and my art teacher came to me and she said, you look sad, come on, and you want to learn how to draw, how to paint. And she took me in the art class, and she started teaching me art every day, 5 days a week. And Joey, that lasted for 5 years.
Mm.
So when I turned 10 years, I was making portraits like any other professional artist would do. So that gift that was given to me right at that age was because of the huge challenge I faced in my life, because I was not able to go out and play with other boys. And uh, that form of art that I ended up learning from her stayed with me throughout my life. And that is the art that made me known throughout the world, basically. So,
Okay.
so I saw a lot of similarities between my own life and the parables used in the book. That's why I got um, touched with the book more so than an average person would, because I saw all the things that I went through myself, facing all those challenges, and how those challenges can be overcome successfully. And my idea was, like, my book is categorized as spiritual self-help book. So basically, it's a self-help book that people can read and take a message home, how to improve themselves, how to face challenges, but using the spirituality as the tool to do so. And the lessons of spirituality are all from coming from the different schools of thought within Sufism, which is not new to the West, but it's becoming more and more popular these days.
Okay. All right. So, art seems to be the vital part of your journey, as evidenced by the painting you created on for your book's cover. How did your artistic process relate to your writing?
Well, that's true. That I hope your audience can see the book cover behind me. That's And I wanted to stay honest and truthful to the subject of the original poem that I used to write my book, which is about the birds, and Hoopoe bird being the leader of the group of the birds. So I tried to capture that. I actually got a lot of compliments on that cover, including from Amazon and Barnes and Noble, as one of the prettiest covers they actually have for any book. So I'm very proud of that. As far as my processes and how it affected me and all that, I'm going to say is that as an artist, participating Sufism or a practicing Sufism, my art reflects my spiritual journey. It definitely does. Capturing themes of love, unity, and connection with the divine. And the divine may mean different things for different people, which is perfectly okay. It's extremely acceptable in Sufism, And some people may not believe in a traditional God, if you may, but that's okay too. But because majority of the people, even atheists, do believe in some kind of a superpower out there. So that's the beauty of spirituality, is especially in Sufism, is that it does not differentiate between one or the other, and it connects you to the power that you believe in. So through my meditation and inner reflection, my creativity becomes a way to express the deep and meaningful experiences I encounter on a daily basis, and revealing my search for peace and beauty of life. And that's why I paint landscapes, because I see the most beautiful work of nature in nature, and that's what I try to capture in my art. And when I paint, I often explore similar themes to what I write about, because I do write. I'm a playwright too. I write poetry too. So I definitely include all those things in my writings. My artistic process is very intuitive, much like my writing process. With the cover of my book, as you mentioned, I wanted to create something that would visually embody the essence of the story. And that's what I tried to do, and I hopefully succeeded in that. It's not just about catering a beautiful image or creating a beautiful image, but also about capturing the emotional and spiritual depth of the narrative. And both my art and my writing, um, I aim to invite the viewer or reader to embark on a journey, much like the birds in the Conference of the Birds. The painting serves as the gateway into the world I have created within these pages. So I hope I answered your question.
Okay, I'm going to jump off the questions that are here. In the book, you discuss various struggles and their solutions. Have you personally faced similar challenges and used the same solutions to achieve the goals in life?
Absolutely, and as I mentioned to you that you know uh, I was born and initially raised until 1984. I was almost 23 years old when I moved from South Asia, from Pakistan, to Los Angeles, actually, as a student. And my father passed away when I was very young, and I had this handicap with me, which, by the way, I had a couple of surgeries performed on my right leg when I was 10 years old. That took care of majority of my issue, but I still have a limp. I still walk with a limp, and that was my handicap, my limitation, and not an easy thing to live with. But at the same time, I had to face a lot of financial difficulties, emotional difficulties as a result of all those things, and not being able to have the bread earner in the family. And I was the youngest of five siblings. So I had to rely completely on myself right from the very early age, right from teenage. And challenges were given to me on a daily basis: how to survive, how to proceed further, how
Mhm.
to become a good student so that a good university in California would accept me. I came and attended UCLA, and graduated with my master's, and going through all those things faced enormous amount of challenges. And as you can imagine, I was not able to afford canvases or oil paints to be able to paint. In the beginning, it was after my first job, after my master's, that I was able to afford all these things and start using that kind of art. Otherwise, before that, it was all pencil sketches on paper, and that's about it. So right from the childhood until I became, finally found, finished my education, finally found my dream job, if you may. I faced nothing but challenges. So all the theories that I learned in the book also go back and remind me of all those challenges. Now I am much more well versed in those theories after reading the book, after writing the book, and I'm in a position to be able to transfer that knowledge to other people. And that's what I've tried to do in my book. And that's what I try to do in my life coaching business too, because I do have that part also where I take on certain selected clients and work with them and walk them through those challenges.
Okay. In the book, you selected Atlas Mountains in Morocco to set the stage for the story. Why?
So uh, when I read the original poem, it talks about seven valleys, okay? And as I mentioned earlier, valley of love, valley of quest, valley of bewilderment, going up to annihilation. And each valley has a challenge, and this hoopoe bird offers them a solution and by using parables, and they move forward. Same situation I had to find in our real world to be able to tell my story. And I searched and I found, for my pleasant surprise, that the Atlas Mountains in Morocco also have seven valleys and seven peaks. And they also are extremely challenging to trek, to climb, or to walk through, basically. And so I thought that'll be the right place to mimic the original poem and write my novel selecting that area. So what I did was that my two main characters, actually I have three main characters in the novel. Two are young Americans living in New York, and they are trekkers. They are basically hikers, and they decided to travel to the Atlas Mountains, basically to trek those mountains. And they find it very difficult. They're part of a large group of people, youngsters, who are trying to do the same thing, largely from the Western countries. And they have a leader of the group, a sage, if you may, uh, that is very much aware of the Sufism and also the teachings of Athar and the Conference of the Birds. And when he leads them to go from one valley to other, a lot of people decide to go back, and they say, this is too difficult, we can't go further. And he uses the similar parables that the bird used in the Conference of the Birds to convince them to move forward. And basically, a selected people remain, and they move forward from first valley to second, third, fourth, and fifth to seventh. And so I thought that I can tell my story in a real manner much better if I can find an exact seven valley peaks which people try to trek, and it's difficult to trek. And I found that in the Atlas Mountains in Morocco.
Okay. You had just mentioned that your main characters are young adults. What do you think young readers would take away from the book?
I hope that the young readers would pick up the book and read it, because it people like me who are 63 years old, we have gone through our lives, main challenges. All the challenges never end, we face on a daily basis, but we have learned how to deal with them based on our experiences, based on our learnings from other people, based on the book that we may have learned, based on the other people that we have learned from. But the youngsters who are, teenagers, early 20s, they are getting into the practical world, and they will end up facing a lot of challenges. And they will need the tools to overcome these challenges. And there are multiple kinds of tools available there, and there are books, self help books available all over there are thousands and thousands of books written on that subject. However, the book that I have written, presents a unique solution, and it uses a solution that basically utilizes spirituality. It connects you with the spiritual world, and then guides you through how to proceed further in your life as and face those challenges. And these are nothing new. What I've written is not new. It's been there for for at least 1,000 years, and but they can be extremely easy to understand and become very popular in the youngsters, very similar to how Rumi became very popular, because it was so easy to understand what he was trying to say. Although Rumi teaches multiple things, does not have a single story to talk about. But this single story that originally written by a thought has a set of problems and a set of solutions for those problems. And that's what I've tried to do, is to write in my books identical problems which represent metaphorical issues and challenges in life that an average youngster would face actually, and of course the solutions of it too.
Okay. I want to apologize, folks, for a minute. We were cut off because we do have T-Mobile 5G internet, and sometimes the Wi-Fi cuts out due to either there's a lot of usage or there's a, a breakdown or something. So I apologize that his response to the question was cut off. So I just wanted to apologize to both you and the audience. So when you chose these three characters in the book,
Mhm.
how did they come to mind?
Well, I definitely wanted to address the youngsters, our youngsters, and that's why I wanted to make sure that, and usually the trekking and the hiking is usually done by youngsters, right? So you have to be physically fit, you have to be emotionally ready to take on the challenges, and that's why I selected the two main characters who fly from New York to Morocco. Now, as far as the leader is concerned, I had to show that person to be an experienced person, somebody who's extremely well educated, a PhD, a professor in the university, who does this leading the team through the Atlas Mountains as a side business for raising, some money for himself. So, and I wanted to minimize the number of characters so that it becomes easy for people to follow and understand. So I could have added three more, four more characters, but I intentionally stayed away from that and kept the main characters to be three characters. So I wanted to show two American kids who are typical American kids. Their desires, their aspirations, their thought process were exactly like majority of the American kids have. And I wanted to show them a different kind of experience when they go there, and get exposed to different kind of theory that they don't get exposed to on a daily basis, that they can bring back and transform themselves. So that was my whole intention, basically, is to, my first question that came to my mind after I decided to write the book was that we have three sons. And I said, what if my three sons were born and raised in the US would read this book? Will they be able to get it? Will they be able to get the message? Will it help them? So that was my guide. And based on that, basically, I ended up writing or selecting these characters for the book.
Okay. Again, I apologize. We were cut off again um, due to the signal. So I apologize again. So the next question that we have is um, as someone who has achieved international acclaim in multiple disciplines, art, poetry, and playwriting that you mentioned before, what advice would you give to others who would be interested in following their true calling?
That loaded question, Joey. Um, uh, well, look, through quiet reflection, okay, and follow the path that brings you peace, purpose, and deep sense of connection. Seek that, okay, seek that. Maybe read my book, okay, and you may find that certain ideas and tools that will make it easy for you to connect to that spiritual world that you need to connect to. Now, I understand that there are times when things are not going well, and it happens for everyone. It happens to every age group. It happens to every gender. Nobody's is immune to that, and it happens to me all the time too. And at that time, I remember what Rumi said once, that if if everything around you seems dark, look again, you may be the light. Okay, so that's my advice. That's the statement that always picks me up, is to, when you are down, when you don't know what your destiny is, when you can't find your path, remember this statement, that if it seems dark around all over you, you may be the light. You just have to look within yourself, and you'll be able to get the guidance that you're looking for. And I'm going to give a scientific parable, is that these days there is a lot of discussion about quantum physics. We are all aware of very much what Newtonian physics is, right? But in the last 20, 30 years, the science has developed significantly, that has looked into, at subatomic level, at the quantum level of the physics. And we realize that the laws are entirely different. They don't exactly match up with the Newtonian laws. Those formulas don't apply at subatomic level. It's a different world. Everything is in motion. It has a different set of rules and regulations. It's very similar to the human beings too, that what we see outside world, our interaction with other people, our aspirations, our jobs, our businesses, our studies at school, all those things are considered them to be like Newtonian physics. They are also true. They do matter. Okay. But when we look inside of ourselves, through meditation, through focus, okay, with a purpose, that, okay, I'm going to search inside myself, that's when the quantum physics gets applied, and you discover a different world. And that world also ends up guiding you, how to find your destiny, how to find happiness, how to be content. And it takes you kind of away from the material world and connects you to the spiritual world. That is the actual happiness, is actually at that location.
Okay. All right. And the last question that I have, you mentioned earlier that you're also a life coach. Um, do you use the methods described in the book or other forms of holistic method as part of your life coaching process?
I do, actually. So I have a little, what I might say, untraditional way of life coaching, and little history of that is that I was involved with underprivileged communities for the last 25 years or so in this metro Atlanta area. Used to work with teenagers a lot, single moms, and a lot of refugees that were also coming in the same situation. So I took on the role of counseling with them, sitting together with them, and I collected 20 some 5 years of experience in doing so. And I realized that I was not doing a bad job. So a lot of my friends and my co-workers in my charity that I'm involved with suggested that I should get certified and offer my services to anybody who might have a need. So I don't do it primarily for money. I only take two clients per day. That's it. We call it an hour-long session, but sometimes it ends up lasting 2.5 hours, and that's okay with me. And we focus on multiple things that are non-traditional. For example, we focus a lot on spirituality. If I feel that the client has a spiritual mindset or belong to a certain religion that he or she practices, I definitely tap onto that, because that's a capital that we can tap onto and utilize for their benefit. And definitely going out of the box is, things like aromatherapy. I even use methods like weighted blankets. I use it myself, because people who are feeling insecure sometimes, and things like weighted blankets and other methods also help them a lot. um, I am a big follower of Silva method. I've learned a lot from his teachings, from Jose Silva, and I use a little bit of the techniques that I have learned from his teachings also to the public, like the water glass technique. For example, it's very, very simple. It takes 30 seconds to do it every night. non-traditional, holistic. Uh, I focus a lot on meditation and exercise. Exercise is a big one because we have found out, and many research are available that tell us that 80% of the people involved in common depression and anxiety get rid of their common depression and anxiety if they get involved with exercises. Now, when we talk about exercises, I not necessarily force people to go to the gym if they don't want to, although it's a good idea. But I say, okay, if you don't want to do it, how about dancing alone? Put on your best music that you like and dance to it. In Sufism there is something called, you may have seen it, whirling dervishes. These dervishes, these mystic people dance in a certain way in circles, and they meditate in that manner, and it's a form of exercise too. So we actually use stuff like that too. Visualization is a big one that we use, and there is something in Sufism called a zikr, which is, let's say, if you do believe in God, in whatever religion that you follow, then one of the attributes of God is, let's say, that the God is merciful. So if you repeat the word merciful 1,000 times per day, and it actually brings a lot of good results in you. I even suggest people to smile at least 50 times a day, even if they are alone, because utilizing these muscles that we have in our face to be able to smile also reduces our anxiousness, our anxiety, our depression, and make us a happier person. So there are multiple other tools besides what I have mentioned just now that I mix up in my practices when I'm conducting my life coaching sessions. So yes, that's very true. Utilize all sorts of methods depending who the person is and what kind of perception that person has of all these things, and how welcoming that person is for all these holistic methods.
Okay. All right. So, how can people reach out to you in reference to the life coaching, or for any reason?
Sure. Well, I'm going to give you 3 or 4 different contacts. First of all, for the book, I suggest your audience to go and buy the book, read the book, and please leave comments after reading the book on Amazon. Especially, even if you don't like the book, I don't care if you need a 1 star. That's okay too. But I would prefer to get a comment back from you so that I can do a better job next time. So one way is to go and look at the book is go on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and 50 other outlets are carrying this book. And I'm very happy and pleased to announce that the book is doing extremely well. It's selling very well, and I'm getting a lot of comments. If you go on Amazon, you will see hundreds of comments currently already that people have left after reading the book. For my life coaching side of the business, the name of the company is Elevate Life, and the website is elevatelife.guru, not .com, .guru, which is GURU, elevatelife.guru. Now, I do have a website for the book. If you want to buy from, it will connect you to the Amazon site too. And we are going to have an audible version of it very soon coming out too. And they can go on the website, which is the name of the book, Whispers of the Flight, and look at the details of the book, look at my bio, and all that information is listed there. And lastly, as I mentioned earlier, I'm a professional artist, and I do have a website for my artwork. If you want to look at the artwork, you're welcome to do so. It is called inamgallery.com, INAMGALLERY.com. So these 3 websites plus Amazon site are 4 different channels that you can utilize to reach me.
Okay. Give me one moment.
And I can send you that, Joey, list. And if you like to list on the screen,
that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
I already have the elevatelife.guru for the self-help. Because what I did was what I normally do is before I go to have the guest on, I pull up their bio.
Yeah.
So the websites are on the bio. So, like I said, here's whispersoftheflight.com for the book and inamgallery.com for the art.
Correct.
All right. Inam, I thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast and taking your time to share your story and, again, about the book and, of course, the life coaching. Everyone reach out to him either through the elevatelife.guru or get a copy of the book on Amazon or go check out, excuse me, whispersoftheflight.com. Or for his art masterpieces, go to inamgallery.com. All right. Thank you so much again, Inam, for coming on the podcast. You're welcome to come on anytime. Just feel free to let me know, and
Sure.
we can always set that up. Everybody else, thank you so much for watching the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. My name is Joey Calvo. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Joey. Appreciate
You're
it
welcome.
very much.